It's now time for your favorite in-depth basketball show with the myths, the legends, Nard Dogg and Raindrops Nard.
Basketball fans, you are tuned in to Full Court Press with myself, Justin Raindrops Goulet, and I am joined as always by the one and only Nard Dogg, David Bernardi. How's it going, brother?
It's going fantastic, sir.
Fantastic is what I like to hear, David. Now, usually Full Court Press, we release a new episode every week, but I was actually away up at the cottage past week. I had an absolute blast. So much fun, but it's nice to sit here with you and talk some basketball. So what have you been up to during my absence, David?
Oh, man. Of course, the World Cup. USA, that was a fun ride, but they couldn't get past the Belgium.
They surprised a lot of people, though, with their performance in the World Cup.
Yeah, Tim Howard, he had a career high in saves.
He just took over. It was absolutely awesome to watch that. World Cup action going strong. Now, I want to talk about a semifinal matchup just real quick and a couple of other things I want to talk about before we get into the basketball chat. But Brazil, man, if you're a Brazil fan, you got to be disappointed with that 7-1 loss to Germany.
I predicted that they would win, but 7-1? Yikes.
I know, that's tough to handle if you're a fan of the Brazilian team.
And I knew Brazil's defense was lackluster the whole tournament. They got exposed.
Yeah, it was
Terrible.
absolutely ridiculous. Now, there's this video that I watched earlier today before we sat in to do this episode of Full Court Press. But someone took all the highlights, all the goals that Germany scored, as well as the one goal from Brazil, and they put in Jim Ross's voice. I don't know if
I saw
you've seen that video. Hilarious stuff. I've seen a bunch of other videos like this where they take good old JR's voice.
Yeah, I love when they do that.
It's fantastic. And it's, I'm not sure exactly what match it was from. Maybe it was from Mankind, Undertaker, Hell in a Cell. I don't think it was that match. But there's so many videos out there where they dub Jim Ross's voice over these other sports highlights and lowlights.
Oh, yeah. It's always hilarious seeing that.
So much fun. Now, speaking of Jim Ross, of course, the best, in my opinion, my all-time favorite wrestling commentator, we actually went to a WWE house show not too long ago. Let's talk a little bit about that. I had never been to a house show. I'd been to a live taping of Monday Night Raw and a pre-taped of a SmackDown event for WWE. So much fun, this house show, because it's way more interactive, has a smaller feel to it. I love going to the live events because you got the fireworks, the pyro, all the big production stuff, but this house show was very interesting.
Yeah, I was the ultimate heel.
What do you mean by that? You were the ultimate heel.
Basically, I would just cheer for all the bad guys.
Of course, that's the, bad guys are the cool guys, really. Let's be totally honest here.
Rusev.
Yeah, Rusev. I know you're a big Bray Wyatt fan.
Oh, don't get me started on that.
We'll save that for another show. Perhaps we'll start up a wrestling show sometime. Who knows? But it was so much fun to go to that house show with you and a bunch of our buddies from school. An absolute blast. But this is Full Court Press, of course, so let's jump right into the basketball talk. We didn't really get to talk about the NBA draft. Of course, we made our predictions, but we didn't get to do a recap because I was up at the cottage. But let's get into it. The NBA draft, Andrew Wiggins.
With the first pick in the 2014 NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Andrew Wiggins from Toronto and the University of Kansas.
What do you think of Andrew Wiggins getting picked first overall?
I wasn't sure if he was going to get picked. I didn't know if the Cavs were going to take Parker. I didn't think they'd take Embiid. I never thought that. But yeah, that's amazing for Canada basketball.
Oh, it's great for Canadian basketball.
Last year, Anthony Bennett, and this year, Wiggins. It's incredible.
And it's funny that 2 years in a row, the Cavs get the #1 pick and they take two Canadians. The Cleveland Cavaliers should really change their name to the Cleveland Canadians. Let's be honest. They got, of course, Tristan Thompson, Anthony Bennett, now Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah, and they also they traded for Dwight Powell in the second round.
So there's 4 Canadians right there on the lineup for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah.
Crazy. They just need Sam Dallenberg, Robert Sacre, or Andrew Nicholson, and then they're set. They have a full roster, a full lineup of Canadian basketball players. It's crazy.
Get Steve Nash as that veteran leader.
Yeah, there you go. And then you're good to go. Set for a championship. Now, what else do you think about the NBA draft? I know it was very back and forth between Jabari Parker and Andrew Wiggins. I was saying it would be Andrew Wiggins. That's what I was thinking. So I wasn't totally surprised. I think Jabari Parker, he'll probably work in Milwaukee.
He's going to be awesome.
I never thought I would be able to say I'm excited for a Cleveland Cavaliers-Milwaukee Bucks matchup, but the first time they clash this coming NBA season, it's going to be insane. The crowd is going to be wild. Parker versus Wiggins, it's going to be incredible.
I don't know. Is it ever really wild in Cleveland or Milwaukee?
I think with these two guys, the crowd is going to be ramped up. Like it's going to get really loud in the arena.
Especially if a certain guy from Akron, Ohio signs with the Cavs.
You never know. A certain man who goes by the nickname of the King. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
I feel bad for Joel Embiid.
How come?
That injury.
No, yeah,
really sucks.
It's weak. Let's talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, they kind of have a run. Nerlens Noel last year, of course, he was injured. They kind of have a history of drafting these big men who were so strong in the NCAA, and then they get hurt, and they come to the NBA, and it's just like, what's going to happen with them? What do you think is going to happen with Joel Embiid?
Well, he's out 4 to 6 months. Yeah, he's not going to play this season.
You don't think he's going to play for the whole season at all?
Nah.
You don't think he's going to come midway through, maybe before the All-Star break or a little bit after the All-Star break?
I don't know, because I have a feeling the Sixers are just going to be on full-on tank mode again. Get another high draft pick, so...
How long do you think they can be on this tank mode, as you put it?
They already have They have Michael Carter-Williams. They have Nerlens Noel, Joel Embiid. Another great draft pick than...
So you think they get
happen.
you think they get a strong pick next year, and that's when they start to soar? They start to build back up the Philadelphia basketball squad?
Yeah, just do what the Thunder did when they got Westbrook, Durant, and Ibaka.
Yeah, that's true.
Anything can happen.
It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the Philadelphia 76ers.
And if Embiid turns out the way everyone thinks, like a Hakeem Olajuwon clone, then...
Oh, then watch out.
Yeah.
And I'm a big 76ers fan, so I'm really looking forward to see what moves they make going forward.
They have the reigning Rookie of the Year.
Michael Carter-Williams, of course. That guy dominated last year. Obviously, the rookie class wasn't the strongest class in history, but there are some good players that came out of last year's NBA draft.
How about the Lakers pick Julius Randle?
Julius Randle. I think you told me this. What did Julius Randle say after he got drafted?
Yeah, he said all the teams that passed up on him are going to regret it.
That kind of made me laugh a little bit because you got picked 7th, so it's not that deep into the draft. You're still a top 10 player.
Yeah, but the thing is, before the injury he had, he was a top 5 pick.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you think he ever had a chance of going number 1 overall?
No, when you have Wiggins and Parker and Embiid.
That's fair enough to say. How do you think Julius Randle's going to fit onto the Lakers?
Well, I'd say he's going to be the starting power forward.
That makes sense. The Lakers, they still have a lot of work to do because last season was an absolute disaster.
And who knows, maybe he'll put up great stats if a guy like Gasol signs elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. That frees up that space for Julius Randle to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then the pick beforehand, number 6, Marcus Smart to the Celtics. How do you think he fits into that rotation?
This is an interesting pick because are they going to trade Rondo now?
Yeah, because you got Marcus Smart, one of the best point guards to come out of the draft. And Rajon Rondo, he's one of my personal favorite players in the NBA. I don't know, where do you think Rondo could end up?
There's been rumors about the Kings.
But the Kings, and that joins up with Nick Stauskas, pick number 8, Mississauga Zone, Nick Stauskas.
Yeah, good for that guy.
I was excited to see Nick Stauskas go number 8 because a lot of the mock drafts were predicting that he would go 13th overall.
Yeah, it was like around the 9th. They were predicting to be in the lottery, but not this high.
Yeah, he went higher than a lot of people expected. It surprised me. I'm super happy for the guy, Nick Stauskas. He's a great shooting guard. Probably the best shooter to come out of this year's NBA draft. A lot of people are saying that, and I'm not going to disagree with them. How do you think he's going to fit onto the Kings rotation, working alongside guys like Rudy Gay and Isaiah Thomas and DeMarcus Cousins?
Well, I think he's going to start right off the bat.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
They aren't going to try to, prep him into the starting lineup. He's just going to go right into it?
Yeah, I will.
How do you think the Kings are going to do this year? Because you bring in Nick Stauskas, they have a pretty good roster. They're not a bad team.
Yeah, but how talented the West is.
It's tough to compete in the West.
They're still a couple years away.
Yeah, it's definitely tough to compete in the West. Now, looking at some other names that got drafted, Canada's own, another Canadian, Tyler Ennis. The Raptors were that close to drafting Tyler Ennis. but he went 18th overall to the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, Ujiri wanted him bad.
Weren't there rumors of a trade? Yeah, what was that whole trade where Ujiri would be able to swipe up Tyler Ennis?
Yeah, that's the thing. Ujiri was he's trying to trade up the Suns and also try to get Bruno as well.
Yeah, Bruno Caboclo, who the Raptors got with the 20th pick. Of course.
Bruno was his second option. And then once he saw Ennis was unavailable, they couldn't trade for him, then Ujiri just said, screw it, I'll just take my second guy.
Go with Bruno Caboclo. It's funny. I was following the draft. I was actually at a recording session, so I wasn't able to watch the draft live, but I was following it on my phone, checking the updates as often as I could. And all the players, they had the image beside their name, you know, the image of the player's face right beside their name. Bruno Caboclo was the guy that the Raptors drafted, of course. He's the first person in the NBA draft out of all these players that didn't have a picture. And my first thought was, who is this guy? I have no idea who Bruno Caboclo is, this random Brazilian. No one really knows who he is. That's the thing. There's a lot of mystery surrounding this player.
Brazilian Durant.
That's what a lot of people are saying. Like, my first thought was, who the heck is this guy? But then seconds after, not even a full minute had gone by, and I was like, it's Masai Ujiri. The guy knows what he's doing. He's a former executive of the year.
Yeah, and there was other teams interested in him as well. It's
not like the Raptors didn't scout him. A lot of people, there was so much hate towards Bruno Caboclo right off the bat, and I was like, these people who are hating on Bruno, they aren't really true Raptors fans. I know you're allowed to be skeptical, but don't fully doubt.
This is the
20th GM.
This is the 20th pick we're talking about. We're not expecting to get an all-star.
Yeah, it would have been great if we got Tyler Ennis, but of course he went 18th.
Basically, if Caboclo turns out the way that a jury in the Raptors organization expects, then the Raptors hit a home run.
Yeah. No, that'd be fantastic.
You might as well go for it.
Exactly. You got to take a chance because the Raptors already have a strong lineup. We'll talk about some of their re-signings and players that they've traded away and a big new addition to the team that I'm really excited about. But they have a strong lineup already. So if you take a chance on this Bruno kid, it doesn't work out, it's all good. But I think he's going to be fine. He's the youngest player that was drafted this year. He's 18 years old. And like I said, they've been tracking this kid for a long time. There's a lot of potential. People are calling him the Brazilian Kevin Durant. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But I have some faith in Bruno Caboclo. And I have faith in Masai Ujiri. And Masai we trust, right?
Yeah, he honestly hasn't made the one mistake since becoming the GM.
All his moves have been absolutely fantastic. The second pick the Raptors got was DeAndre Daniels, NCAA champion this past season with the UConn Huskies, of course.
Yeah, he's got championship experience, but he's not NBA ready yet, so...
That's why, of course, he's on the Toronto Raptors Summer League team, and along with Bruno.
Ujiri said he's going to play in Europe for a year.
Is that a definite... That's a definite thing?
Either that or D-League, but Europe's probably better.
I think that's a good idea because he's a big man, and you look at the Raptors' bigs... They're already set in that department. DeAndre Daniels would be a nice bonus. It's good to shape his career, his playing style, and get him ready for the NBA.
And you never know. He could play amazing in Summer League, and something could happen. A roster spot can open up.
Yeah, you never know what could happen with the NBA. It's a crazy business, right? Now, who else could we talk about the NBA draft? There's a guy like Shabazz Napier. He went 24th to the Hornets, and then he got traded to Miami Heat.
This is a guy that LeBron James desperately... He said... a few months back when they won the championship, this guy's going to be awesome. I want him on the team or something.
Well, LeBron James tweeted, I believe it was the night of the draft or the night before, LeBron tweeted that Shabazz Napier was his favorite player in this year's NBA draft.
Oh, it was the night before? Or it wasn't?
It was around the time of the draft, but I remember LeBron did specifically tweet, Shabazz Napier is my favorite player in this season's NBA draft.
And what LeBron wants, you got to do what he says.
Exactly.
For the Miami Heat, because you got to keep the guy.
Oh, of course. Now, we talked about the NBA draft. Let's go into NBA free agency. Let's talk right into it because I'm excited. LeBron James. Do you think he is staying in Cleveland? We've touched on this before, of course. It's the biggest topic. He's the biggest name when it comes to free agents this NBA offseason. Do you think he stays in Cleveland, especially that they got Shabazz Napier now? Or do you think he's going elsewhere?
Oh, I don't think Shabazz Napier is going to influence his decision. Either is them signing Josh McRoberts and Danny Granger.
Yeah.
It's really tough. No one expected him to sign with the Heat 4 years ago.
Well, some people could have predicted it just because he wanted to play with his buddies, Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, right?
Yeah, but no one ever thought he was going to leave Cleveland. But would he go back to Cleveland?
Well, Cleveland's got Kyrie Irving. They now got Andrew Wiggins, Anthony Bennett.
They have a better team than the Heat right now. If you put LeBron James on the Cavs right now, then they're Eastern Conference champs.
Oh, you know what? I'm not doubting you on that. I'm not going to fight that because that's, that you could say that's a fact.
They're a better team than LeBron, Bosh, Wade, McRoberts.
The Cleveland
Ranger.
Cavaliers are going to be so much fun to watch this season. I'm really looking forward to it. They're going to really bring things up, bring the intensity level up over in Cleveland.
But it's really hard to say if LeBron's gonna resign. And there's also the Knicks.
Yeah, Carmelo Anthony's saying it would be his dream to play with LeBron James.
But it's gonna be really tough because the Knicks have to trade Amari Stoudemire and Bargnani.
And who really wants to pick up Andre Bargnani and Stoudemire for that matter? No offense to those guys, but
And there's talk about him going to the Sixers, which I could kind of see because
Carmelo to the Sixers or LeBron to the Sixers?
Amari.
Oh, Amari, okay.
Because he's an expiring contract, and the Sixers are just playing to tank this season.
Yeah, that could make sense. Oh.
But Bargnani, who's gonna want Bargnani? No one's gonna want Bargnani.
I don't think so.
Sorry, Bargnani.
So LeBron, of course, is the hottest topic in the NBA offseason right now, of course. Let's talk about other moves because when we went to this WWE house show on the GO train going into Toronto, you actually told me about a lot of moves that went on. When I was up at the cottage, I stayed away from technology for the most part. I was out on the water every single day. So there's a lot of moves they kind of shocked me when you told me.
Yeah, there's the Kyle Lowry re-signing.
Of course. I loved how he acknowledged that he was staying with the Raptors by posting that picture on Instagram of him wearing a vintage Vince Carter jersey.
Respect.
Yeah, that was awesome. I can't wait to see those jerseys next season. It's going to be a lot of fun watching those games. Now, what else have the Raptors done?
They traded John Salmons and was it a second-round pick for Lou Williams?
They traded John Salmons and a second-round pick to the Atlanta Hawks for Lucas Nogueira and Lou Williams.
Yeah, that Nogueira guy.
Apparently, there's a lot of upside to this player. So now we got two Brazilians on the Raptors. A lot of people are saying good things about Lucas Nogueira.
Yeah, he's a big body, and you can always use one, and he's got a lot of talent.
Exactly. Someone to back up Amir Johnson and Jonas Valanciunas. Of course, Lou Williams. I am super excited about this one. How do you think Lou's going to fit into the Raptors rotation?
I love this guy. A couple years ago, he was in contention for Sixth Man of the Year.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, he was definitely one of my favorite players on the Hawks because Atlanta's not a team I'm a huge fan of, but I really like Lou Williams. And when I heard about this trade, it was great. Another genius move by Masai Ujiri. I like John Salmons, but it was time for him to go.
His last 30 games with the Raptors were just disappointing.
Yeah, that's the thing. He started off hot, but he
started
down.
Off really good, and then he just, I don't know.
Oh, well, it was fun to have John Salmons while we did. And it's going to be even more fun having Lou Williams, in my opinion.
I'm looking forward to him scoring.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be great. And another move that Masai Ujiri made was getting rid of Steve Novak. You know, he came in as a shooter to hit some shots for the Raptors. He missed a lot of shots. That's the thing. He didn't play that much, Steve Novak. So this isn't really that big of a deal. What was that move by Masai Ujiri?
Yeah, they traded Novak to the Jazz for Dion Garrett. And they plan on waiving him, so the Raptors are going to save $7 million.
That's huge. That's huge for the Toronto Raptors.
So that they can potentially re-sign Grivas Vasquez and get another quality free agent.
Yeah. What do you think they should sign Vasquez to? Because we were discussing this just the other day. You were saying you don't want them to overpay Vasquez.
The way some of these free agents are getting paid in the summer is not looking good for the Raptors.
Yeah.
And re-signing a guy like Vasquez, I think anything over $5 million a year is overpaying for him.
You think so?
So a 3-year, $50 million contract is amazing, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Well, we'll certainly find out very soon, see what they do with Graves Vasquez. I think they have to re-sign Vasquez because he did a lot for Toronto. Brought the intensity, a lot of energy. I'm a big Graves Vasquez fan.
And if they weren't going to re-sign him, my other backup plan was going to be Jared Jack, but he just got traded to the Nets.
Yeah, let's talk about some other moves around the league, shying away from the Toronto Raptors.
Jared Jack, he got traded to the Nets, and that frees up a lot of money for the Cavs to get a guy like LeBron James.
What other moves have gone down during this offseason so far? Let's just recap some of these. Start from the beginning.
The Charlotte Hornets signed Gordon Hayward to a 4-year, $63 million offer sheet.
Yeah, you told me about this just a couple of hours ago, actually. 4 years, $63 million for Gordon Hayward.
Yes.
What? Like, when you told me that, are you kidding me? I like Gordon Hayward, but he's not that great of a player.
I think you look at DeRozan, who's a much superior player. A couple years ago, he gets a 4-year, $38 million.
It's $63 million.
Yeah, that's $15 million a year.
That's crazy for Gordon. Would you ever pay that much for Gordon Hayward?
No, it's just some of these teams are just ridiculous. Come on, Michael Jordan.
It's like you said, these teams are going all out.
What this does, this basically screws the Jazz because they said they're gonna match any offer he gets. So
they're clearly not going to match 4 years, $63 million.
yes, they will.
You think so?
They've already said they'll match any offer.
Oh yeah, so they're officially going to match it. They're gonna
Yeah.
wow, that's absolutely crazy. What else has been going on? Other big signings and big trades and whatnot.
Well, there was that Calderon,
Of course, yeah. The
Calderon, Tyson Chandler,
that's a big one. So Calderon,
D'Alembert.
we talked about Andrea Bargnani. Calderon, he's back with his buddy Andrea Bargnani in the Big Apple.
His good old European buddy.
Yeah, that's for sure. So the Knicks, they pick up Jose Calderon, Sam D'Alembert, and a few other guys. Tyson Chandler goes over to the Dallas Mavericks. Tyson Chandler actually won a championship with the Dallas Mavericks.
Yep, that's an awesome move, actually.
Oh, yeah, it's great. I love Tyson Chandler when he was in Dallas. And I don't really like to cheer for the New York Knicks, but I like Tyson Chandler as a player.
No.
So it's great to see him in Dallas so I could actually cheer for the Mavs.
Now, sadly, the Mavericks get back Raymond Felton.
Oof, yeah. I know you're not a big Felton guy.
But we'll see. Like, he plays good when he's motivated. Will he be motivated to play for Mavericks?
So it all depends on if his motivation is high to play for the Dallas Mavericks, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, this deal is clearly just for Tyson Chandler to come back to the Mavs.
Well, it works out well for them because Tyson Chandler obviously did great things for the Dallas Mavericks organization. They went and won a championship. So
Yeah. How about the Zen master, Phil Jackson? Him actually wanting Jose Calderon on the team?
why do you think that's surprising?
I don't know. I would never have thought that.
Yeah, you
It's
know,
good to see a former Raptor get wanted by a legendary coach like that.
I'd rather keep Jose on the Mavs, though. I loved Jose Calderon on the Mavericks. If he's not going to play for the Raptors, I didn't mind seeing him in Dallas. Do you think Chris Bosh, we've talked about this before too, do you think Chris Bosh would be tempted to go to Dallas? I don't think it would work now that they got Chandler and Dirk.
He's not going to go to Dallas. If he goes to any Texas team, it's going to be the Rockets.
You think so?
Yeah, they offered him a contract, actually.
I could see that potentially working, him with James Harden and Dwight Howard.
Yeah, but there's talk that he doesn't want to leave LeBron. He just wants to ride his coattails.
Do you think that's what it is, riding his coattails, or is it just working with a guy he likes to play with?
Well, I guess he just wants to play with the best player in the world.
Well, who wouldn't really? Like, if you can stay with LeBron James, you're going to go for it. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with the Miami Heat next year because I think last season them going to the NBA Finals against the San Antonio Spurs was the last big play for the Miami Heat. I don't think they're going to the finals next year. Do you think they're going to the finals if the big three stay together in Miami?
Depends if the Pacers continue with this chemistry issue. And I don't know if the Bulls get someone like Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah.
I don't know, anything could happen.
Anything could happen, right?
But I don't know. If the big three stay together, then I still think they're number one. Do they win the championship? I don't know because the West is so talented.
The West is extremely powerful. And if LeBron James and Chris Bosh, well, specifically LeBron James, if he stays in Miami, you brought this up to me before we sat down to do this episode. You're saying that it's just going to be boring if LeBron James stays in Miami because there's all this excitement and everything going on surrounding this big decision as there was a few years ago when he decided to go to the Miami Heat. If nothing happens, then it's like, what was the point of all this hype?
Yeah, exactly. And then I guess we have to shift our attention to Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Carmelo Anthony's waiting for LeBron's decision, and then he's going to make his decision.
Like a domino effect. You'll probably be the day after or a couple of days after.
Oh, God.
It's going to be interesting to see, that's for sure. Now, another thing that you brought up to me, going to the guys manning the bench, the coaches. Jason Kidd is now the head coach of the
Milwaukee Bucks?
Yeah, Jason Kidd is now the head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. What do you think about that move?
I don't know. It's is great, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to be cool to see Jason Kidd coaching Jabari Parker because Kidd really did turn the Brooklyn Nets around last season. Do you think he'll be able to do the same with the Milwaukee Bucks?
Like you said, it's all Jabari Parker.
Jabari Parker Nation. Well, Nard Dogg, any other moves we could talk about? Anything else going on in the league that we should throw out there?
Yeah, we've pretty much covered it all.
Nard Dogg, I'm happy we got to talk about the NBA draft, our thoughts on the results and everything. It's great to see 4 Canadians going in the NBA draft. I'm really excited about that. One other thing I want to mention before we wrap this episode up, Sim Buller. You brought this to my attention. Sim Buller from Toronto, 7'5". This guy is huge. He got signed by the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, Sacramento Kings.
So they got 2 Canadians now, Nick Stauskas and Sim Buller. Do you think Sim Buller's actually going to get a lot of playing time, or what do you think this is all about?
I think if he'll probably just be in the D League.
Yeah,
So.
become a monster in the D League.
Yeah, hopefully Sim marries the Kings owner's daughter. She's quite the looker.
Well, there you go. Good luck to Sim Buller marrying the owner of the Sacramento Kings' daughter. We'll see what happens there. Well, Nard Dogg, we definitely covered a lot, of course. Now, I just want to throw this out there. This may, in fact, be the last episode of the season for Full Court Press. We're not entirely sure. We may be back next week. But if not, I hope you all enjoyed this episode. A lot of fun talking NBA draft. Next season of basketball is going to be absolutely incredible. I am so excited for it. And it's great to see all these Canadians drafted this season into the NBA. 4 Canadians that won the draft. It's amazing to see, and that number's just going to go up as the years progress. I am so excited about it. Nard Dogg, before we wrap everything up, Twitter and Instagram, throw it out there for everyone.
Yeah, my handles for Twitter and Instagram are the same. It's at the Nard Dogg 88.
At the Nard Dogg 88.
Give her a follow.
Yeah, give her a follow. Just give
them a tweet.
And of course, if you want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, you can do so at Justin Goulet 21. As I mentioned, this may in fact be the final episode of the season for Full Court Press. You know, stay tuned with us on Twitter to find out if this is indeed the final episode. If it is, it's been a super fun ride, and of course, we would catch you next season. But if not, we'll be back whenever. As I like to say from time to time, basketball never starts, basketball never ends. Basketball is forever. Nard Dogg, any final messages to everyone listening?
Yeah, just go out there and play some ball. Have a time.
Play some ball, have a time.
Play with your buddies.
Just have a great time. Keep the movement of basketball alive and strong, growing each and every day. Thank you so much for listening, and we're out.
Cheers.
You've just been hit with Full Court Press. Courtesy of the men, the myths, the legends, Nard Dogg, and Raindrops